Okay, shocker supreme du jour today once again. I claim all my stuff basically was pre-flood and is part of the Triassic layer. And I do live exactly on the exposed part of the Triassic. I am right there, right dead center right there, in the center of Connecticut, called Middletown. That's analogous to center. Right there, boom. I picked everything up off the surface, and I was always wondering why it was so everywhere. I mean, it's just everywhere. Because the Triassic was the great dying. Everything died. And it just laid there on top of the gray clay and the red bed. And that's what I found. And I found body parts. And I know that's a lung. I looked at it and I said, boy, that's a lung. And this right here is where the heart would have been. And the guy died flat like this. And that's why it's so flat. And I found a ton of them. I found all kinds of parts, bones. And they say, no, those are just rocks, that's just dirt. No, it's not, it's a bone. And that's the little tiniest bit of it left there. But this is fascia-facilitated fossilization. I'm certain I showed you this. I got called away a couple times, as always happens to me, so I'm out of sequence a lot, and I'm sorry about that, but it's just that I got too many things going on. And that's his feathers right there, you see that? And I'm not sure what kind of a waterfall. I mean, I'm sure it's a waterfall. Well, I'm not positive about anything. And this side, again, is flat. He died laying like that. You can see his throat where it was. You know, it still has a little bit of a tick to it. Now, I showed you this lung. Let me show you a fingertip that I also had DNA tested, and it's a biggin. All right, I showed you the 2-inch hair follicle right there. It's the muscle, sebaceous gland, the root ball. There's a fingertip. Shown this literally hundreds of times. So if you've seen it 100 times before, well, sorry about that. This is 3 feet long, 36-inch tip is what I called it. It's about 2.5 feet wide, something like that, 2 feet wide. But it's 36 inches from here to here. Now, this is the fingernail. Follow it right around, you see it? It comes up to here. This is just a leaf in front of it. Now, that little piece right there, it was thicker than this, and some of it has scaled off, so I believe this would have really been the top. Can you see that easily? I would say that would have still been the top of the fingernail, and a scale has come off here because it's missing back here too a little bit. But it's really, really hard stone. This is hard stone. And there was no place to get any blood out of it because the nature of fingertips is they're not bloody until you get inside. Once you get inside, you got all the blood you could ever use. Now this right here, that little pad is a little bit of cartilage, basically, that is in between bones. So they don't scrub calcium to calcium, you wear them right out. This is the vein and the artery which feeds it, and it is flush with blood once you get inside. But you can't get blood from the surface. I never get it from the surface. I always either drill into it, like here, in the lung here. You have to do it right. You have to do it clean. You have to clean everything up, and then you drill into it. You take that powder. You know, of course, you do it with the gloves and the mask and all that stuff, and make sure you don't contaminate it. But this came out, both of these came out with excellent quality DNA, heavy duty, because I went right into the blood. And I did the same thing here. And how did I do it? Well, I've had to break this piece off. I couldn't get to the blood. I had to smash it, break it off to get to the blood. And I did, and it was saturated with blood, and I got blood out of there. So I had this tested, and I had that tested. Let me show you the DNA report. Well, let me show you the fingerprints. Actually, the fingerprints came off with this too. Here it is right here. These are the fingerprints. You see, that's sweat pores. That's one fingerprint ridge like this, like that up here. And these are the sweat pores. Boom, boom. My thumb is the same width as one fingerprint ridge. And you got quite a few of them in your fingers, so it's, you know, it's a good size, 2.5 feet wide, something like that, 3 feet long. And these are the fingerprints. Now, I have the piece right here that I broke off. Here it is right here. You hear that? This is some tough stuff. Now, this right here is fractured. This skin is broken. That would have been skinned together. That is a fracture. This is not. This is the way skin attaches to the underlayment. This came off just like a scab. I hit it with a hammer and the whole thing just popped right off. That's fractured stone. This is not. That's like glued. And that was just glued right onto that fingertip. All right? It was literally glued on here. It was like this, right there, just like that. And it wrapped around. Hold on. It was just like that. And this wraps around to where your fingerprints are. Or your fingerprints start right up next to your fingernail. And that's where the fingerprints are. And it's just almost, it was just like it was glued on there. That is just like glued, and that's exactly what it is. Grip skin glues. It just glues on the top because it's made to peel off, you see? Now, underneath, tons of blood. Up in here, very little. However, fortunately, when I broke this off, I got a little piece of blood right there. That's a piece of flesh. Because I don't have access to this anymore. But this piece right here is a chunk of flesh. All right, so that there, and I know I've looked at it in the microscope and everything. There's blood in there. So there is blood in this, which is the fingerprints from that gigantic finger, which was tested. Whoops, both DNA tested and excellent quality DNA on top of that. Here it is right here. The PCR products were submitted to Eaton Biolabs in New Jersey for DNA sequencing. Primers used to generate PCR products, also used in DNA sequencing. Excellent quality DNA sequence obtained from the 36-inch tip, the big gigantic fingertip, and the lung sample, which is this one here. And they were Homo sapien mitochondrial cytochrome B gene, Homo sapien mitochondrial D loop. 36-inch tip and a lung. Now, all that down here, it shows the sequence, these CTAG little amino acid sequences and so forth. I don't want to pretend that I know all about this. I don't enough to really comment much, other than the fact that I said, all I really want to know is for 100% certain if this was human or not. Because they were just giants. Giant, and I mean, I have a hand too. I have a 4-foot hand. That I also had DNA tested, and that also was human DNA. But this is all, that's what I said. I want 100% certainty it was either human or not. And, you know, because I know they're creatures, and they had human DNA. And he said, he'll stand behind the test. But you have to understand, I, Roger Spur, not Tom Pachenko, extracted the DNA from the samples. I could have faked it, and he would have no responsibility whatsoever. He tested what I presented to him in little glassine baggies that I extracted myself. He has no responsibility for the extraction of the original specimens from the original rocks. I couldn't send him a 600-pound stone. And I know what I like I say, I drill into these things. There was no, I could see if I swiped out the surface, obviously. That's not going to work. Look at this. This I wanted to get tested, nobody will test it. I drilled right down into there, into where the toes would be. This is one of my no toes. That's it. That's it. Basically a human foot, but it's not really human. It's some kind of other human-ish thing. And there's where the seam of the foot would have rocked like this. And that's where the tibia, the big bone, comes down. You see that round spot? And then on the side is the fibula, and that just glues basically with 3 little ligaments on the side. It's even almost got like a sole built into it. I mean, it is a sole, basically. And it has springs instead of bones, I believe. And the other ones I know they have springs because they have eroded enough we can see them. So this is not silly. It's not a joke. It's not playing games. And this was a long time ago. This was 10 years ago. This is a very long, detailed test. And this was the top-end test. I believe it was the first one done in the world. Well, I know it was on giant human beings. There's no question about that. I don't think anybody's ever done one since. And this was 10 years ago. So that's what we got. It's time to take a look at this with a serious eye, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I just showed you samples that I have here. They can be retested. I'm not hiding anything. I never hid anything. And plus, I got DNA tests I just showed you. I have CAT scans too. This was another hand. The one I showed you, the fingertip, was 3 feet long. I have a hand. Well, let me show you. All right, this is the other one I had DNA tested, was this hand. You see the silver stuff? That's the grip skin. It's the same as I showed you on the other fingertip, that 3-foot one. The silver stuff is just peeling away because it's like a glove around there. As I showed you, it's like glued. It's basically glue. And it just peels right off. Of course, this is a little thicker because the fingertip was 3 feet thick, 3 feet long. Now, this is about, hold on, this is one of the fingertips from it. And I have knuckles and I have fingertips and all kinds of stuff from this hand. Take your left hand and hold it back like that. You have one of these tendons. It's just very simple to do. Just do it right now. 2 seconds, you did. There's a tendon. Hold it back tight and put your finger like this. You're going to feel something running right down it. Run your hand back and forth like this. You'll feel that. That's this. It's coming right out of here. You see it? Now, also you're going to have this pinch, that little cleave in between the pads. They have to be able to squish together like that. This is the little finger pad. Runs down that way, you see it? Plus, you got bones down here that are in the ends here. You got all kinds of bones in your hand, a lot of bones. But this is the grip skin, just exactly what I showed you right over here. Hold on. I don't want to lose you. This stuff right here, only it's on the hand. This is the same stuff on the finger. Doesn't matter. It's grip skin is grip skin, and it's just like a coating to coat your hand. Now, in addition to having the hand, and again, CAT scans. I had CAT scans done on the fingers and stuff. This is a finger, and it's coming out this way. And you know what that is? That is a right-handed thumb. And you say, how could I know that? Well, here it is right here. The bone is way on this side. There's a lump hanging over. You have the same thing on yours too. You know, use your own hand. You see, you got a lump on this side, and it's more or less flat on that side. That's what we got here. That's this fingertip right here. Now I got to held together with this strap because I broke that off so I could get down to take a look at the bone. And the bone is there, and you can see it. It's transitioned almost entirely to what you would consider to be mudstone now because of the nucleophilic invasion and substitution. But this is a CAT scan, a 2D. This is the 2D. It's very, very good for mud fossils. Excellent. It's the best. Because if you look at that, you would say that's just a piece of dirt. It's a rock. But you don't see what's going on here. You don't see what's going on here. You don't see what's going around here. With the 2D, you see all of that. What is going on here? Why is this dark? And what's that little round spot in the center? Take your time to look at this. This is all dark. And this is all white. I mean, totally white. However, they both have a dot in the center. Why is that? Why would that be? They both have a dot, and then they have that round circle around them. In addition to that, they both have a little hole underneath. You see it? And you see that one? Why would that be? Well, it's a right-handed thumb, and that's where the bone is. And this is just like extra meat that hangs off the side of the bone. These are tendons. And these, I believe, are the artery and vein. Those two holes. And this is the bottom of the bone looking into it here. It's completely eroded away, so the fascia and anything that was hanging off the bottom of the bone, we're right at the bone. This is actually bony bone. If you look at it carefully, you can see it's bone. It's not dirt. It's nothing like that. It's got bone structure to it very, very clearly. Now, a 3D, you go inside. Let's look at the 3D, because I had 7 CAT scans done. Jesse Garant and Associates. Top people in the world. The absolute best at that time, as far as I know, and still probably even better now. They did 7 CAT scans for me, no charge, because they knew of the importance of this discovery. And of course, I didn't have the money to pay for it. And I will never be able to thank them enough. Jesse and Fabio from Jesse Garant and Associates. They're in Canada and the United States. And I will love you up there in Canada, Jesse. You're fabulous, man. You know, we love Canada. Anyway, that was a 2D. Now the 3D, I'm going to show you, you really don't get anything from a 3D. Very little. I'll show you. All right, so this is that fingertip in the 3D going inside of it. Well, what do you see? All you can see is a couple things, very, very minimal things. This goes a long time ago. This is like 10 years ago. Now, that is this fingertip. Okay, and this bone here is right there. All right, now I know you can see that if you look carefully. You see the little cloudy look around there, that circle? That's where the bone is. Now, a bone is going to have a membrane surrounding it, and because you can see the membranes take on just a taste of a little different hue to them. But when you have a real mud fossil like these, which turn 100% into mud, you see that? This is a part of the same hand. I'll show you this in a second in detail. That's the bone. That bone is nothing but mud now. That's not calcium anymore, you see it? That's mud. And that's the bone ball. And here's the other side where the bone ball is here, but it's got the muscle going right over the bone, you see? This one here is all rotted off, gone. That would have had muscle wrapped right around it just like this one does. It would have been just like that. And that would have been muscle. It's eroded off. This still has the muscle. Not only does it have the muscle, it has the tendon attachment that comes down to go between your fingers. That's the tendon. And if you look at it carefully, you can see quite easily the center of the tendon. A tendon is a short piece in between muscle and bone primarily. And this came down to anchor somewhere right around the fingers, using that cord primarily, and then attach a bundle of muscles coming down like this and attached to the bone so you can pull this back and forth. Now, this is flat as a pancake. You see it? Same thing. They all died flat in the flood. And this is the finger found right with the hand, and upside down it's flat. You see it? This is total invasion. That was all bone marrow, basically. But the calcium changed because it was different material. You got to understand the chemistry, the biology, the anatomy. And again, that goes over the top of the finger. This is the knuckle right here. That's the knuckle bone. And that's the tendon that would make it go this way. So this bone is here, or one of these. I don't know if there was another one. If it could have been one of these, like a edge finger. And in that case, you wouldn't have a tendon coming down here. And that may be the case. I don't see a tendon stalk there, but that doesn't mean it wasn't there. It could be just missing, because it does look like there might have been a tendon there. But anyway, there's certainly one here. And that tendon comes down from the finger top down and would lock in somewhere to let your finger do that. It's got to go back and forth. It's got to lock in somewhere so the muscle can pull it back and forth. And again, the hand died upside down like this. So the palm side was up like this. So this finger was up in here somewhere. And this was when I first found it. And that's 10 years ago. So it's been sitting out there just deteriorating, I guess. Not too much interest in these things. And again, I'm exactly dead right on top of the exposed Triassic. It's just everything here is exposed and Triassic. And it was from the Great Flood. And here's another, hold on, I had one over here. Here it is. Here's another lung. This one here, the pleura, which is the coating, has eroded away and pushed aside. That's the coating. That is the top of the lung. And it's flat as a pancake. It died in a great flood, just like that. And this is a lung. I don't know what it's from. It's not DNA tested or anything. But that's where the pleura has just eroded right off. I think I've made my case extremely clear. And, you know, the kids are not being taught the truth. And it seems to be an avoidance of this. I tried to show them the Dinosaur State Park. I said, you guys got these dinosaur footprints right down the street from me. I got one here that's in the middle of the red bed, gray clay, black cap, and it's a human footprint. He says, oh, I'm sorry, we only do dinosaur footprints. I said, I'm right in the same Triassic rock. Doesn't this excite you at all? No, we just do dinosaur footprints. I have to teach the kids. I have a class. I have to go teach the kids about the dinosaur footprints. I said, "What? You're avoiding reality here." We had it out. Well, he was just mild-mannered. No, we don't do that. Sorry, I'm not going to look at it. I said, "Will you please look at it?" Nope, don't want to see it. Go to the newspapers. Go somewhere else. Go to Yale, which refused again the same way. Everybody does. Because this really upends academia. There's literally nothing that they've taught you that's true. History's completely wrong. Biology, they don't even understand. I discovered the interstitium layer. They just announced, in 2018, we found a new layer. No, I found it. And I found some other stuff too. about the fascia and how it attaches. It's called a spur lock. I got all kinds of things I've discovered from my research, which just totally blows them out of the water. That's why they're so upset and they won't allow it. And it points to God and the great flood and the giants and dragons. All that stuff is real. So, and that hurts the Christian people too. They say, "Oh, that's scary." Well, it is scary, but it's true. Well, something's true is true, and I haven't had them engage either. This completely throws evolution out the window. That's just nonsense. That we all evolved from slime, but the gods, the little g gods, are everywhere, and they're still here somewhere. They don't die. So what's going on? I don't know. All of this is extremely scary. And it upends geology every which way, history every which way. I mean, even the chemistry, physics, all of that stuff is completely different. Global warming is the scrub of the particles in the outside of our atmosphere against all of the fields and particles that are in space. And they can't deal with that. They can't deal with the biology of Mars, the Mars crab, the Mars Morse codes, the Mars blueberries, all biology, shown it over and over and over. Again, not a single word back to me about it. And I have shown it, and it's not deniable. And Bennu, that they just came back with, has heart sarcomeres, and it's got all the DNA products, it's got the amino acids, it's got uracil, 16,000 organic compounds and molecules inside of it that are the same as us. It's got sarcomeres, it's got phosphate layers, which are the membranes. It's everything. And anatomically, you look at it, you can see the valves in that heart, which is Bennu. They've gone, they picked it up, they brought it back, and it's been here for quite some time, and they're talking about inspecting it for the next 10 years before they'll be able to figure out what's going on there. It's already done. And that's, billions of dollars, way over $1 billion to do that, and now they're going to spend billions more walking around in circles. It's time to get something done. Let's start here with some reality. They're just going to have to suck it up and say, look, we know everything about what they used to say. Let's apply it to the Mudfossil. And let's see, can we dispute it, or do we have to integrate it into our academic endeavors? Let them integrate it. That's all I'm asking for. But before you can integrate something, you have to recognize something exists. All right? So we're going to just leave it at this for today. I see no reason to dismiss all of this stuff to support academia just taking advantage of the kids. At this point, that's what it is. It's not that they don't know. I presented this to virtually everybody, and I've had no takers. And I mean arrogantly no takers. So it's time that we submit this somehow to somebody that will pay attention. I can't get it done. I'm so suppressed right now that I'm lucky I can even get on emails. I get no response from anybody. But anyway, that's just the way it is. Once you come out with something nobody wants you to see. And the people that don't want me to see it are very powerful. And they can keep me from being heard. And they're very successful for 15 years. So it can't be undone. It's just not deniable, and it cannot be undone, and it will not be undone, and at some point it will be recognized, and they will be seen as the ones that were the deniers, and specifically against God, primarily. It's to support evolution. We all came from slime, and just don't worry about it. Do anything you want. There's no God. That's nonsense, crazy people. Well, no. Nope. No. However, mythology is also crazy. It's true, though. Typhon and all that stuff in the desert out there attacking the fish, and the fish was a god, all right, because they said Typhon attacked the gods, and I would think Typhon would be a god too. He was the offspring of Gaia and Tartarus. So I would say he was some kind of a god. They're both laying in the desert. It looks like they're dead. I don't think gods die. Can they just leave their bodies there, or are they still alive just waiting to wake up? They seem to be, rotting in the desert, basically, decaying, let's put it that way. Can they just shed their body and go somewhere else? If a god is a god and they say they're immortal, that means they don't die. So I think we got to take that into account too. There's so much here to think about. It's just staggering when you start to step through what it really means, this stuff. It's not just a curiosity. It's not just, holy smokes, that was real. Wow, let's have a good day. No, it's wow, what does that mean? That's where I go with this. And I am looking back at all the ancient texts. Now, I have some other ones to go over that I haven't considered yet. And somebody sent me one today. Voinovich, I think it was. And I remember that from years ago. But it was a mystical... Nobody could figure out what it was about. With this new information, there might be something there. I can't remember. I think it was Voinovich. But anyway, I'm going to let it go for now. It's time that we look into this as a reality of truth and see what is literally the meaning of it. And let the academics pick it to pieces. That's what I was hoping for. All right, I love you all. Let's get it done. All right, this is going to be so cool. Like I said, they knocked off the flesh to get to the bones. They didn't realize what they're doing. This is a fingertip, and it's still got some flesh on it. It has where the fingernail bed was here. I'm going to show you the CAT scan of it. It's been DNA tested. It's human. Whoops. The bone is right here. That's the bone, and I'll show you in the CAT scan. You can quite easily see it. The bone is there. Now, this is where the tendon locked in. And they would have knocked this off and got to the bone and said, woo, there's the bone. And they're right. There is a bone in here, but you don't have to knock the flesh off to get to it. They should have been able to see that creature in its entirety if they hadn't started just ripping away its flesh. But that must have taken them thousands of hours, because that is the layer of gray clay. The thing died on there, just like my Triassic footprint I have. The gray clay was pushed down through the red bed. I'd like to see what was on the other side of this, because I'll bet you that was right on top of the red bed, this gray clay. Now, this is really kind of funny. That is the fingertip from this gigantic hand I have. And this is a bone ball from one of the fingers. This side is all the way down to the bone, just like they would have done here. Well, guess what? This side eroded by itself. I didn't do that. And the other side didn't erode, and guess what it has on it? Muscle. That's muscle. You see the bone ball right here? That's the bone ball. And it would have come right around over here, but instead, it's still got its tendon, and the muscle is still wrapped right around there. They would chisel that right off to get down to this and say, oh, look, we found a bone. They don't understand. They just don't understand. It's like my poor friend here, Caesar here. If they found Caesar, they'd chisel it down until they got down to his neck. And you could do that. You could chisel that away and see the bones in his neck just like this. Very, very hard, laborious work to do that, but it can be done. It's a different substance to some degree, but it depends on where these things were entombed, how much nucleophilic substitution and invasion happened. What transition metals were here. This is like almost completely flawlessly changed. But they all have feldspars, aluminum silicates, because of the collagens, which are made out of phospholipids. Phosphorus boils down to aluminum silicates. during the Great Flood. Phospholipid membranes boiled down to aluminum silicates. All feldspar is made of aluminum silicates. It happened in the Great Flood because of the heat and boiling it out. Simple as that. And I have things here that nobody's ever even considered. And they still don't consider it. They chisel away the flesh to get down to the bones. I'm telling you, it's crazy.